Hello and welcome to part 11 of my Hogwarts MOC series. Today we're going to be taking a look at a part of the castle I've been looking forward to tackling for quite a while now, and that is the Hogwarts kitchens. So as you can see, this is the design of the Hogwarts kitchens that I have settled on for the moment. I'm not saying I won't make any more changes, but I'm pretty happy with the setup that I have created at the moment. I have actually shown this part of the castle before, very briefly in a number of different videos. In fact, I think when I took a look at the castle from the back and showed how everything connected together, I believe I actually showed the entrance to the Hogwarts kitchens, or at least the part that will connect to it from the dungeons in the Grand Staircase Tower. And when I showed that, there was a pillar just here, right in front of the door, which I've obviously changed, and that is now an entrance into the little sort of lobby, corridor area, whatever you want to call it, and which then can take you to the right into the kitchens, or in future to the left to what will be the Hufflepuff common room. So first things first, I'll give the whole thing a little spin around so you can see it from all angles. Obviously there are two angles that are open, the one on the back here, which is the same side as the open side of the Great Hall, and then if I spin it around to here, this is the end, which you can see at the moment, but will connect onto the courtyard and the Hufflepuff common room just here. And then spinning it around even further, you can see the rockwork that supports the Great Hall on the outside, and the same on this end as well. Excuse all the scraping there. So that is the Hogwarts kitchens, and I was working within obviously a set footprint, just knocking bits over, I'll get to that in a minute. I was working within a set footprint, which is ever so slightly narrower than the 16 by 16 base plates. I think in fact I'm working with a 14 stud width, and I wanted to try and fit in as much as I could. First things first, I decided to use the space available inside the big ugly rock pieces, which are here and here, and to do that I created these shelves in alcoves. So they're not very deep, and the reason for that is I didn't want to have to create too much structure inside. So they're actually only one stud deep, but that is enough space for me to put a few things on there. So you can see I've got a whole bunch of different goblets in gold and transclear and silver and yellow. And if you look down at the bottom shelves, I've got a few mugs, and there's even a couple of spoons just in clips on the shelves there. Not the most efficient use of space to just have a single spoon on a shelf, but I just picked at the bits that I had in my collection already and built what I could onto the shelves. I originally designed those shelves to be all equally spaced apart and at the same height from this one to that one, but as you might be able to tell, they've ended up at slightly different heights, and that was simply because I wanted to be able to fit the goblets in, and the way that I originally designed it, they just weren't going to fit. But I had so many goblets, they were probably the thing that I had the most of, and I didn't want to not be able to use them. So for those of you who have not read the Harry Potter books, maybe you've just seen the films or maybe not seen them at all, in which case, thank you for watching this video. You may be thinking, but the Hogwarts kitchens aren't featured, and they're not in the films, but they are in the books. They get visited in Goblet of Fire, where Harry discovers that Dobby is working down in the kitchens. And so it was kind of interesting to tackle a part of the castle that I'm not basing on its appearance in the films, because there isn't one. So I'm just going off the descriptions, and also off what I've seen other people create in MOCs in the past. For instance, Bricks Unbound did a wonderful Hogwarts kitchen. Obviously his castle is a lot larger than mine, so he had a lot more space to play with. But I went for a similar idea, and I'm pretty happy with the result. So you'll be able to see I've got the two long tables here, and those are precisely stud for stud underneath the tables up in the Great Hall. Now, yes, there are only two of them, but I only have two long tables in my Great Hall. There is one that's missing, however, and that's the staff table up at the top. And the reason for that is there isn't room. There really isn't room. I wanted this fireplace because that's another prominent feature. And if I put the table, it would be basically in the fire, which I don't think is good for anybody. For those of you who don't know, the food is prepared and laid out on the tables underneath, and it's then magically sent up through the ceiling of the kitchens onto the tables in the Great Hall above. So, sorry teachers, or sorry staff, you're just going to have to starve or get your own food, I'm afraid. Speaking of the fireplace, I'm pretty happy with how that's been constructed. I actually used the dark red slopes that originally came in the Great Hall set, which was one of the first sets of this new wave of Harry Potter that I got. Obviously that's been taken apart and the pieces have been used all over my Hogwarts castle, but I didn't manage to use these. I thought about saving them for Gryffindor Tower, but as I've mentioned before, that's something I'm going to be doing much later down the line, so I can easily get some more, and I think they work well for the kitchens, so nice there. It's a little bit difficult to see, I'm afraid. You might just be able to see there, if I can get it to focus, you've got some flame in the fireplace just there. Tell you what, let me take this cauldron off. You've got some flame in the fireplace there, and then behind it you've got some brickwork, and that is actually a sticker. That is from the Room of Requirement set. I got 2 sets of those stickers, one that I bought separately and one that came in the set. You may have noticed that I used the same sticker for McGonagall's fireplace in her office, which is part of my quad building video. You can take a look at that. I'll try and leave a link for it. Yeah, just use that in the background for a little bit of extra detail. You can hardly see it. It does show up better in real life than it does on camera, but I just like it as a nice little bit of detail, and it's on a panel, so that fills up a lot of space inside there. The other major detail in here, which I haven't really talked about, is this stack of shelves at the back. I was going to call it a bookcase, but it definitely isn't. There we go, now it's in focus. Again, you can't really fit much on it, just like you can't fit much in here, but I've managed to get a couple of pairs of cherries. There's the end of a banana just sticking out in a pan, as well as someone has just stashed a cookie up there. I'm pretty happy with this. It's an incredibly simple build, just stacked bricks and plates. But one of the reasons I decided to put it there was because I needed to hide something in the corner, so I will just remove this. So that little gap there is part of this. I believe it's is it a MERP? Medium ugly rock piece? The corner piece, just here. And the way that it was arranged and where I wanted to put the walls, there was going to be this little bit of grey just there. And I decided rather than try to make an angled wall and lose space, or try to do some massive rearranging of the rocks under there, which I really didn't want to do, I would just build this, and this just slots in there, covers that up nicely, and you probably wouldn't even know it was there. I mean, you can just about see it, but I'm pretty happy with how it's been put there. One quick final note on the actual kitchen part of this build is just the food and drink and things that are on the tables. Like I said, with the goblets, this is just a random arrangement of stuff that I happen to have already. So we've got the big cauldron that I moved before, a smaller pot, a couple of goblets with ice cream in there, I suppose. I think that's normally used as ice cream. You've got one of the newer parts here. I think this one came with the Ginny Weasley collectible minifigure. I just bought one of those separately, sort of, I don't know what you really call it, like a sort of sundae glass dish thing. It's probably got a proper name. A couple of pies at the back, a spare cauldron that I had, of course a teacup and a teapot, some pretzel, a pretzel and a baguette. Odds and ends that I had put there. In future, what I might try and do is match what I've got on the tables down here with what I've got above, so it's like it's being sent up in the process of, but that's definitely something for a future project when I can get a matching set of everything here. So that's the actual kitchen part of this build. As you can see, that only takes up this much of the build itself. The base here, incidentally, is exactly the same as the Great Hall above it. That's 2 16x16 plates, and then a 2x16 plate at the end. So that's the total footprint. It's quite strong, actually, especially once the Great Hall's been put on top of it, which I'll do at the end of the video. So what is the other part of this? Well, like I mentioned, I think right at the beginning, this is the sort of lobby corridor area on the way into the kitchens. So if I spin this around, and I'll just get you at a lower angle. So now we're down at a sort of minifigure eye view, and the way that you get into the kitchens as described in the books is in a corridor which has a painting of a bowl of fruit, and that is what I've tried to recreate here. If you take the medium azure pieces as the bowl, and then we've got a rather oversized apple on top. I originally played around with using the physical Lego pieces like the bananas, the apples, the cherries, but they were just sticking out a bit too much, and I came across a MOC online, which I'll try and put a link to, where they had managed to create an apple as well as a banana and an orange, originally all together in one piece, and I really like the design. So, you know, great ideas. I copied them. There's no two ways about it. I copied the design because I thought it was just great, and it used so few pieces and allowed me to create what I wanted. It's not a pear, which is what is specified in the book. You tickle the pear and it turns into a doorknob. I've gone for an apple because that was what the design had, and I did try a pear, but it just wasn't working. So in this case, you tickle the apple, and you've got to imagine it turning into a doorknob, and then the entire thing swings open off the wall, and you can get into the kitchens. It's not focusing brilliantly, but you can see you can get through there. It's just some inverted tiles on the back to keep it nice and strong. And then on the wall opposite, or rather perpendicular, there is another painting, which I'll just pop off the wall quickly because I can. And that's just the other design, which is a little orange with a leaf and a banana. This is another very simple one. It doesn't move or anything like that. It just clips into position on the wall there, just to complete the sort of picture gallery. I've got another one of my brazier builds there, this time back in its tan and dark tan colours, which are the original ones I did it in. And then on the other side is this, which I think I've also mentioned before. So this is a statue that I made a while ago. I may have mentioned it in a previous video, actually, possibly my first one. This was inspired by the Hogwarts architect statue, and I just had this Dobby minifigure. This is the original Dobby minifigure, which you can see is a very different moulded head from the more modern one. Everything is moulded, there's absolutely no printing on it whatsoever, and it's in tan rather than the flesh tone the new one is in. Arguably, in some ways, it's more accurate, but it's obviously less detailed than the modern one. So I thought, what with the walls and bricks and arches and things of the castle being tan, that I would use this as a statue. So I've replicated what the Hogwarts architect is holding. In fact, I will grab my Lego Hogwarts architect, and here he is. So in the films, he's holding a model of the Great Hall and the Grand Staircase Tower, which is here, and then he's holding the blueprints as a scroll in his other hand. So I've just replicated that with a tray of, in this case, waffles and possibly something of drink there, and a baguette in the other hand. So it's a silly detail that's not in the books or the films whatsoever, but I just decided it was a fun little detail, and you can either see it as a tribute directly to Dobby, if this is set after the conclusion of Deathly Hallows, or just a house elf in general, because that's their domain. And for those of you wondering, I did flash a little bit of it earlier. Yep, that is a policeman's torso backwards, because it was the only decent condition tan torso that I had, and I didn't want to pay for a completely blank one. So that's everything regarding my Hogwarts kitchens. As I mentioned at the beginning, the next bit of the build that I'm going to try and attempt is the Hufflepuff common room, which I've already designed to go just here. And that will... Oh, knocking the house elf statue over. That's one problem, he doesn't seem to want to stand up. I'll try not to touch him again. Yeah, the Hufflepuff common room, which will go just here. And I'll save talking about that till I actually get to that build, because I don't want to spoil things too much, but I'm very happy with the design I've come up with. So the only thing remaining is to put the Great Hall on top. The reason I did this review before I'd even tried that was that I wanted to get enough light in so that you can actually see what's going on there. Once I put the Great Hall on top, it is going to become a lot harder to see. That's something I'm hoping to rectify one day with lighting the entire castle. But I'm staying away from that at the moment, as I want to get more of it finished before I do that. So, learning from experience in the past, I didn't want to have to put the Great Hall on and then take it off again, because, as I think I showed in my potions classroom video, when I tried to do that with the quad building, it kind of exploded and went everywhere. So this will be the first time that I try and put the Great Hall on. I'm going to try and do it on camera. No guarantees it's actually going to work, so if it doesn't, there might be a few quick cuts until it does. If not, wish me luck. Well, that went on surprisingly easily, actually. And I'm really, really happy with the result there. I think this looks absolutely fantastic. And the light situation, you know what, you can actually still get a decent amount of light in there. Not so great in the corners. It'll look better once I've lit it. Just going to try and experiment with some battery-powered lights. I'm just going to leave him off for now. He doesn't want to stand up. So yeah, that you can see the direct up and down between the two sets of tables. Incidentally, because these tables have to stop before the wall here, I have used 6 long plates for the benches and the tabletops for this second half here, whereas they're 8 long here. And this table here, which I've been using as the Gryffindor table, was originally 8 long all the way down here. So I just took the opportunity to order some more pieces and shorten it so it's the same length. I think that also helps with the illusion that this is actually the entrance hall and not part of the Great Hall itself. So there is the Hogwarts kitchens. I'm really happy with that and how that looks with the Great Hall in place. I do have a soft spot for my Great Hall, as it was the first part of the castle that I built, and I think it now looks even better with the kitchens underneath. Let's just take a look at it from the front. Yeah, that looks good. It's always going to bug me that this isn't quite centered. I've had to shift it over, like I said, because it's only 14 studs wide, but most of the time it's going to be covered by the courtyard in front of it. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. I will do one final view, and that'll be this connected to the section that I looked at in my last video, which I called just the dungeons, but it's the bit under the grand staircase tower, just to see that everything runs smoothly down this corridor. And the good news is it all lines up perfectly. There is a tiny little gap, but that's because of the unevenness of this homemade table. Hopefully in the future I'm going to have something a little bit better to display this all on, which will make everything work a lot better in unison, but everything lines up just there. I'm glad I changed this arch here to tan rather than light bluish grey, because I think the transition between there and there was a little bit weird. You can just see the as yet unoccupied portrait inside there. And yeah, the corridor all works, and it'll be even nicer when it's all lit underneath in the kitchens. So thank you once again for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed putting the kitchens together, and I'm really looking forward to the next part. Whether or not that'll happen next week, I'm not sure. There are a few things up in the air right now, which mean that next week's video might be a review of something completely different. It might be the Hufflepuff Common Room, and it might be a review of something that I've not yet got. All being well, there's been a few problems with my LEGO VIP account at the moment, so once those are sorted out, I may be ordering something quite large and doing a review of it. It's a set that I've wanted for a little while now, so keep your eyes out for that. Hopefully that'll be interesting. Thank you for watching. Thanks to everyone who subscribed. I'm well on my way to 450 subscribers, which is amazing. And so if you have enjoyed the video, please drop a like down below. And if you want to see more of my content, then please subscribe, and I will see you very soon. Thanks.